As the future is AI, and AI is creating real winners and real losers. I think the days of saying that AI investment and speculation is not going to pay off it just isn't true anymore. And today we're going to look at the different business models of Amazon and Apple, both big tech companies, both in the S&P 500, absolutely huge companies. But one company is crushing it and seeing an upward trajectory, while the other company is starting to flounder and fall off. And AI is a major reason why. So we're going to dive into that, because I think the days of saying that AI hype and there's no return and all this investment is for naught I think that that's been frankly disproven at this point. And don't get me wrong, there are some companies that are promising the world and not getting returns back, and their product is just not that great. And we've certainly seen examples where companies are firing thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, only to find that, well, the AI that was meant to replace them isn't really standing up. So in any event, I want to just kind of dive in a little bit deeper, because both Amazon and Apple released their Q2 financials, and I think there's some interesting stuff to examine. Okay, there's some stuff to examine. So Amazon's case, in Amazon's case, the AI spending is actually paying off big time. Amazon is absolutely crushing it. Their stock surged over 15% as they posted their biggest quarterly revenue growth in over 4 years. That's right. All this money they've been putting into AI and infrastructure is paying off. And Microsoft, by the way, posted a similar result in all their AI investment. And there's something that both these companies do really well and have been really investing in that is really bringing in the cash. We're going to cover that here in just a moment, because I think this is something to be looking at when you're figuring out how you want to invest your money. Anyway, it looks like tens of billions of dollars in AI infrastructure spending is paying off, especially in cloud. Cloud services, guys. Cloud services is where we're seeing a huge boom. The Amazon Web Services revenue grew 37% year over year, 37% year over year on their cloud platform. And just hold that thought for just a moment, because there is another side of this coin, and that coin is Apple. The once beloved brainchild of Steve Jobs has really fallen off, and it dropped nearly 7.5%, primarily due to supply constraints. And I think there's more to it than just supply constraints. I think that there's a couple problems that Apple has, and again, we'll cover that in just a moment as well. But Apple is not doing so hot right now. And Apple CEO Tim Cook said in a call this week that, quote, "We're seeing some very significant supply constraints currently with limited flexibility in the supply chain to remedy it," end quote. So basically, the reality, guys, is there's not enough chips to go around. There's not enough chips to go around, and that doesn't bode well for their forecast. And what's interesting in Apple's case, because if you asked me, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months ago, I would have said, well, Apple's just not, people aren't upgrading their phones enough, and that actually is not the case. They are moving a lot of phones. The iPhone sales actually jumped over 21%, 21.7% in the June quarter to over $54 billion in sales. And Mac sales also rose 28.7% to $10.35 billion in sales, which is, they are moving a lot of hardware. I'm an Android guy. I don't know all you iPhone users out there. I don't know how you do it. They're kind of aggravating to me to use an iPhone. But anyway, they're moving a ton of phones. They are moving a ton of phones. They're moving a ton of silicon. And I think that's interesting. Now, Amazon services revenue grew, but it did miss the expectation. And there's a big speculation amongst investors where they say, okay, well, Apple's got these supply constraints. They have a lot of competition. There's a lot of people spending a lot of money that want a lot of silicon. They want a lot of chips. And so Amazon now has to compete against all these chip constraints. Not to mention you've got the war in the Strait, you got the war over in Iran. The world is pretty tumultuous right now. The other thing that is happening is a lot of missiles are being used. I don't know how true this is. I haven't dove too deep into this, but there's apparently some sort of shortfall at Palantir, and they need to, they basically need to build a bunch more missiles. Also requires silicone tracking chips. So there's just a huge demand for chips right now. There's supply constraints going all over the world. Kind of a tumultuous time. So Apple is definitely feeling that. The supply demand, the supplied chips is their real problem. And again, where this plays off is like, well, as this kind of manifests and as they are unable to meet the demand over time, well, that means phone sales will slump, Mac sales will slump, which will also lead to a further slump in their services. So that is kind of the speculation about what's happening. Because again, Apple's selling a lot of phones. They're making a lot of money, but you know, they're not on the AI side of things. They're on the hardware side of things, and these supply constraints are really hurting them. There is one clear thing that we can get from these quarterly reports is that cloud demand is way up, way up. People want their cloud infrastructure. They want their cloud compute. They want the compute, and yeah, that's why Amazon spiked. So companies are just really hungry for this, and the providers of this AI infrastructure are winning. Not just Amazon Web Services and Amazon, but Microsoft and Alphabet also saw big gains. Alphabet spiked huge. Microsoft has been pretty steady quarter over quarter, but Amazon has seen percentage growth in cloud compute, and Alphabet saw a huge spike in cloud compute. So those guys are absolutely crushing it. Again, we've got this supply shortage for chips and infrastructure. And again, this hurts Apple and helps cloud providers like Amazon. And Amazon is, I think the reality, guys, is that Amazon is just positioned closer to the scarce resource of compute, and Apple is positioned closer to the buyer of the scarce components. So they're just kind of in an awkward position. You know, the reality is that Apple isn't losing because people stop buying iPhones. It's that the AI infrastructure boom has supercharged Amazon while crippling Apple's ability to, well, provide those phones in the future. But guys, I think that the problem goes a little bit deeper for Apple, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, but the reality is that, you know, I just don't think the innovation is where it used to be. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the movie Jobs, great movie. Ashton Kutcher does a pretty good job, I think, of portraying Steve Jobs. But like, you know, when he pulls out the iPod, he says it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. You know, listen, guys, I'm 43 now, and you know, I don't know if you can remember this, guys, but like there used to be a time where you had like 12 songs in your pocket on a CD, which would skip every 10 seconds. Like the ability to listen to any song, any place, any time, I don't think people fully appreciate how transformative that technology was. I mean, just whipping out your iPod, it's pretty insane to think of that just 20 years ago, you didn't have access to all these songs, and now you can listen to any song, anywhere, anytime. It's pretty insane. And so that was like a huge leap forward in innovation that I don't think Apple is really on top of right now. Like, what are they doing? They're like making a slightly better mousetrap with iPhones, and like it's like, well, guys, guess what? We've got a slightly better camera in our iPhones now. It's like, okay. They did have the Apple goggles that came out, which were pretty cool, but then you have this like huge battery pack and a wire. It's not there. You know, Meta is really breaking into a revolutionary type of product, I think, with their glasses. I don't know exactly how it's gonna play out, but I think that the glasses are really cool. I think they're really innovative. I think there's something special there, but like what is Apple actually innovating right now? Because the reality is that Siri sucks. The Apple AI is not good at all. And this actually leads to an even bigger problem for Apple that I just don't see a lot of people talking about, which is that they're starting to let the dogs into the hen house when it comes to AI. Like, Apple knows that they need AI in their phones. They know that there needs to be AI, they need to make a better product, it needs to be more intuitive, it needs to be more simple to use, and that Siri and their AI is just not there. They're a hardware company. So what do? Well, they did the natural thing and they said, hey, OpenAI, Gemini, why don't you guys use your AI in our phones? And that has caused an insanely big problem for Apple. In fact, so big that Apple actually has an active lawsuit open against OpenAI. Did you know that? Did you know that Apple has an open lawsuit against OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT? They are alleging that OpenAI was stealing trade secrets and poaching their top talent. I mean, I can't think of anything worse for a company than instilling all this AI software into their ranks, and then the company just comes in and rips off all of their IP, which is basically what they are threatening. So, you know, I think Apple has a rocky road ahead. I don't know about you. But I'd like to hear your thoughts. Again, this isn't financial advice, but I think that this is an important topic if you're looking to see what's going to happen in the future, where is the need, where's the demand going to be, how can I invest my money and be financially free, where are the jobs going to be, where the problem's going to be. These are conversations that we got to be having. And anyway, that's why I'm here on this channel 6 days a week to talk about it with you. Leave your comments below. What do you think? Is Apple going to go to the moon, or is there a rocky road ahead? I want to hear from you. Type it in the comments what you think. If you've got a great comment, some insider. I love it when guys on the inside leave comments. So if you've got an insider thought, put it in the comments. I'll pin you if it's great. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. I'll see you in the next video. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, and check out yesterday's video where we go deeper in how AI is absolutely transforming the world that you live in. It's crazy. All right, boys, see ya. Peace.